Hello, besties. Welcome to another thrilling story. This story is very interesting with many lessons to learn. Relax and enjoy yourself. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Once upon a time in the prosperous village of Umuzi, nestled in the heart of Anambra State under the wise rule of Igwe Obina, lived Uju and Okonkwo, a couple whose beauty was the pride of the entire community. Everyone in Umuzi would speak with certainty about their future children, convinced that such stunning parents could only produce the most breathtakingly beautiful offspring. Just as everyone predicted, Uju and Okonkwo were blessed with 4 magnificent daughters, Chioma, Nkechi, Amoka, and Ifeoma. These girls were so radiant that anyone who saw them had to pause and stare. Their beauty became legendary throughout the eastern region. People praised Uju's blessed womb, and mothers would bring gifts, hoping their sons might one day win the hearts of these exceptional young women. Years passed, and Uju became pregnant once more. But when the baby arrived, horror filled the delivery room. This child looked nothing like her sisters. She was tiny, with strange features and skin marked with unusual patterns. The baby was not what anyone expected. Tears of shock filled Uju's eyes. Okonkwo, unable to face the unexpected, fled their compound, claiming he couldn't stay under the same roof with what he wrongly called an abomination from the evil forest. Uju's heart shattered, torn between the pain of her husband's abandonment and the arrival of this strange child. Conflicted and overwhelmed, she kept the baby hidden, secretly wishing she would quietly die. Yet as the child resiliently clung to life, Uju slowly accepted her reality. She named the child Ugochi, meaning God's eagle, though she spoke it with bitterness rather than faith. Ugochi grew up to be an unusual-looking girl. Her sisters treated her like she carried a contagious disease. Her mother never allowed her outside to avoid the wagging tongues of villagers, but it didn't stop the gossip. Ugochi was turned into a slave in her own father's house. She did all the household chores, fetching water from the distant stream, pounding yam until her arms ached, sweeping compounds, washing clothes, yet no one appreciated her efforts. At every slight mistake, her mother would call her a cursed child. "What did I do to deserve a child like you?" Uju would scream. "You look like nothing from this family. You are an abomination." Sometimes Ugochi doubted if Uju was truly her mother, as it seemed she only had 4 children. But she endured all the mistreatment, hoping that one day, death would mercifully take her. She never believed there would ever be hope for her. Every evening, Ugochi would sit alone and cry, unable to understand what she had done to deserve such a harsh life. Why did her mother shower her sisters with lovely gifts while no one spared her a glance unless they needed her to perform some chore? Though Uju forbade Ugochi from leaving the house, whenever the compound was empty, she would sneak to the Ajoli forest. Beneath the comforting shade of an ancient udala tree, surrounded by the quiet of the woods, she would sing. Singing breathed life into her soul. It lifted her from sadness and, for a brief time, made her forget her troubles. Singing became her secret joy, and each evening before anyone returned, she would hurry home, holding onto the peace she found in her melodies. One day, while lost in her songs, some girls returning with firewood spotted her. Dropping their loads in fear, they raced home shouting, "Evil spirit! Evil spirit in the Ajoli forest!" Realizing the danger, Ugochi knew she had to rush home before being caught. Rumors flew across Umuzi about an evil spirit haunting the forest, supposedly seeking refuge in Uju's house. Unknown to Ugochi, some children followed her home, tracing the source of their fear right to her doorstep. When Uju heard this, rage consumed her. She rushed home cursing, "That evil child wants to disgrace me. Today I will deal with her." Finding Ugochi in the compound, she demanded, "Why did you leave the house against my instructions?" As Ugochi opened her mouth to explain, Uju began beating her mercilessly. "You want to embarrass me in this village, you cursed child." When the beating ended, Ugochi cried until her tears ran dry, wishing death would take her. She couldn't bear being seen as an evil spirit, and she couldn't understand why her mother hated her so deeply. She didn't create herself. When everything had quieted down, Uju entered Ugochi's room with an unusual calmness. "I need you to escort me somewhere. A friend of mine needs help." Ugochi was surprised. Her mother had never spoken calmly to her before. She felt her mother regretted her actions and wanted to make amends, so she followed happily. They walked for hours, crossing rivers and climbing hills, but the journey seemed endless. Ugochi grew tired. "Mother, is this place we are going still far?" "No, we are almost there," Uju replied coldly. As they reached the deepest part of the forest, Uju stopped and faced her daughter. "I don't know how I bet you, evil child. You've brought only pain to my heart. I've prayed for you to die since the day you were born, but you refused. Rather, you've brought me shame. I won't allow you to embarrass me before the villagers. That's why I've brought you here." She turned, leaving Ugochi alone in the forest. Ugochi cried and pleaded, but her mother ignored her and disappeared into the darkness. Heartbroken, with the forest echoing with sounds of wild animals, Ugochi clutched her chest in fear. Her own mother had abandoned her to die. Out of desperation, she ran after her mother, calling and pleading, but she lost her in the dark forest. When exhaustion overtook her, Ugochi sat under a tree and wept, praying that death would come quickly. Soon, sleep took over. After some weeks inside the evil forest feeding on fruits. One morning, Ugochi felt a gentle tap and opened her eyes to see an old woman standing before her. She jumped up, scared and shaking, puzzled to see anyone in this deep forest. The old woman spoke in a calm, comforting voice. "My dear, don't be scared. I mean no harm. I was fetching water and saw you. Why are you out here alone?" Ugochi recalled what happened and began to cry. The old woman gently comforted her and invited her to come home, saying she couldn't bear leaving a child alone in the forest. They arrived at a simple, somewhat run-down hut hidden deep in the woods. Despite its appearance, the place was tidy. Ugochi wondered who would choose to live alone out here. The old woman, whose name was Momanjoku, explained she had been living there for more than 25 years. She cooked some yam, and ogba, explaining she found the seeds in the forest and planted them near her hut. She also had plenty of fruits and vegetables, suggesting a life of simple self-sufficiency. After their meal, Ugochi opened up about her life, and Momanjoku listened with deep sympathy. "Your mother has been very cruel," she said. "I would have been grateful to have any child, no matter what she looked like, even like you. But don't worry, I will help you." Momanjoku began sharing her own tale. Long ago, she had married full of hopes and dreams. However, she couldn't have children, which brought her much sadness. Her husband decided to marry another woman. Tragically, when the new wife had a baby, the child didn't survive. Fingers pointed at Momanjoku, accusing her of causing the baby's death out of jealousy. The situation worsened when her co-wife also died from a mysterious illness. Again, the blame fell on her. Her husband, swayed by village gossip, couldn't stand by her. She was unjustly labeled a witch and banished to what they called the evil forest. "I've lived here since that day," she told Ugochi, her voice mixing sorrow and strength. "For 25 years, I've been alone with not a single soul passing by. But now I think the God saved me just for you. You are not just any child, you are a star, and I see its glow on your forehead." Ugochi laughed bitterly. "A star? Me? Here in this so-called evil forest?" But what she didn't realize was that Momanjoku was no ordinary person. She had incredible spiritual powers hidden beneath her humble appearance. Ugochi was about to discover just how extraordinary her new guardian was. As their bond deepened, Momanjoku revealed a terrible truth to Ugochi. "Something grave happened while your mother was carrying you," she began. One market day, she visited Onitsha main market with a craving for stockfish. The price was beyond what she wanted to pay, but her desire was overpowering. In the hustle and crowd around the fish seller's stall, she seized the opportunity to take the fish without payment. She left unnoticed, but an innocent woman was blamed, stripped naked, beaten by the angry mob, and publicly humiliated. In her anguish, that woman cursed whoever stole the fish, declaring they would bear a lifetime of shame. Since your mother was pregnant with you, the curse took hold on you instead. Tears streamed down Ugochi's cheeks as she finally understood the source of her suffering. Mama Njoku comforted her, promising liberation. We will undertake a 7-day ritual of purification. You must fast from food and water, preparing your spirit. On the 7th day, you will immerse yourself in the sacred waters of the Ajoli River, washing away the curse and emerging renewed. Meanwhile, in Umuzi, Egui Obine faced his twilight years with a heavy heart. He had twin sons, Ibuka and Chibuza, and tradition demanded he pass the crown to one before his death. But which one? They were born on the same night, and in the chaos of delivery, no one noted who came first. The king consulted Dibia Okoro, the revered chief priest and seer. After deep communion with the ancestors, Dibia Okoro delivered the divine directive. The princes must journey to the Ajoli forest in 4 market days. Hidden deep within the earth of the forest is a special staff. The true heir will be revealed by a guiding light leading him to the staff, a sign of the gods' favor. The princes underwent purification rituals and prepared for their pivotal journey. As the quest began, Princes Ibuka and Chibuza entered the dense Ajoli forest and parted ways, each seeking the divine staff. Ibuka, driven by burning ambition, searched tirelessly, but the guiding light eluded him. Chibuza found no sign either, and both grew weary. On the 3rd day, Ibuka stumbled upon an old woman in distress, her cries piercing the forest silence. Focused solely on his quest for kingship, he chose to ignore her pleas, convinced nothing should divert his attention. Meanwhile, Chibuza, resting under a tree, heard the same cries. Despite initial fear, his compassionate heart couldn't ignore the suffering. He followed the sound, but when he approached, the old woman suddenly disappeared. In her place, a bright light appeared, beckoning him forward. He followed it through the forest to a vast cave. Inside, the light focused on a glowing spot on the cave floor. Filled with determination, Chibuza dug at the spot and unearthed the staff, its glow a beacon of his success. On his journey home, Chibuza crossed 2 rivers and encountered Ibuka. Excited, he shared his discovery. Ibuka's heart sank. Bitterness took root. Why should Chibuza, who seemed to have everything, their mother's love, the people's adoration, a successful farm, also be the one to find the staff? Hiding his envy, Ibuka congratulated his brother and asked for a brief pause, claiming he needed a moment alone. Trusting and unsuspecting, Chibuza waited under a tree. Seizing the moment, Ibuka attacked Chibuza from behind with a heavy branch, striking until he fell motionless. Believing his brother dead, Ibuka grabbed the staff and hurried back to Umuzi. His return sparked celebration. The village, filled with anticipation, welcomed him with drums and dancing. Exhausted and hungry, Ibuka was served a lavish meal as he rested. But the celebration was marked by concern. Where was Chibuza? In the forest, Ugochi had completed her 7-day ritual and bathed in the Ajoli River. True to Mama Njoku's words, she emerged from the water completely transformed, her deformity totally healed, her skin glowing like the sun itself, her features breathtakingly beautiful. She was overjoyed, hardly believing she would no longer live with stigma. Mama Njoku urged her to return home to live her dreams, but Ugochi refused. "I can't leave you. You're the kindest person I've ever met, and you need help. This is my home now." One evening, while returning from the river, Ugochi was startled by sounds of someone in pain. Overcoming her fear, she discovered a man lying in the forest, weakened and bleeding. Rushing back, she called Mama Njoku, and together they brought the man to their hut. Mama Njoku, with her knowledge of healing, began treating his wounds with herbal remedies. Meanwhile, the palace was engulfed in worry. Over a week had passed without any sign of Prince Chibuza. The king dispatched a search team into the forest with orders to return with the prince, alive or dead. Even after 2 weeks of exhaustive searching, there was no trace. Heartbroken, Igwe Obina assumed wild beasts had claimed his beloved son and declared a 7-day mourning period. Following the mourning, plans proceeded for Ibuka's coronation, including a 14-day period of spiritual fortification. In the forest, Prince Chibuza recovered quickly under the care of Momanjoku and Ugochi. He shared his story, and they felt deep sympathy. All three had walked paths of betrayal. "You will get better soon and return in good health," Momanjoku told him. "The gods have preserved you for the throne." Chibuza couldn't believe his own brother had done this, all for the throne. But he was grateful the gods had saved him. He enjoyed the company of both women. Momanjoku was caring and wise, while Ugochi was a beauty with an angelic voice. Every evening she would sit under the tree and sing him beautiful songs. With time, they grew closer, and each day Chibuza found more reasons to love Ugochi. Her beauty, the way she cared for him, and her songs haunted his thoughts. Momanjoku caught him staring at Ugochi while she cooked, and it excited the old woman greatly. Chibuza knew he had found his wife, the woman of his dreams. On the day of Ibuka's coronation, the whole village gathered in celebration. Kings and princes from neighboring kingdoms were invited. Ibuka dressed in his royal apparel and looked magnificent. As the traditional priest and his NRI, the chief kingmaker, conducted the final rituals, Ibuka was declared king. Yet as he attempted to sit on the throne, an unseen force repelled him. He tried repeatedly, but each time the throne bound him, as if rejecting him. The crowd watched in stunned silence, excitement turning to confusion and fear. Just then, Dibia Okoro, the revered seer, entered. All eyes turned to him for explanation. With commanding authority, he revealed the truth: Prince Ibuka is not the rightful king. He has not earned the staff honestly, and he knows what happened to his brother. Under the Dibia's spiritual power, Ibuka found himself compelled to speak truth. He fell to his knees, confessing to attacking Chibuza, taking the staff by force, and leaving his brother for dead. The king and everyone present were shocked. The villagers expressed their disdain openly. Then Dibia Okoro announced, "Prince Chibuza is alive." In the heart of the forest near the Ajoli River, he was found by 2 kind souls and has fully recovered. Let the king send men to bring back the prince. As for Ibuka, the king should decide his punishment. Without delay, Igwe Obina sent a search party. They hurried to the forest and found Prince Chibuza. Momanjoku was happy, knowing they had come for the prince. She had watched love blossom between him and Ugochi, and finally she could be fulfilled. God had used her to save a kingdom that had rejected her 25 years ago. They thanked Momanjoku and Ugochi and prepared to take the prince. Tears rolled down Ugochi's eyes. She was sad to see him leave, as they had bonded deeply. But Chibuza had no plans to leave them behind. He ordered his men to bring both women from the forest, as they had saved his life. Momanjoku insisted she would stay. "This place is home to me. I will never leave." Unknown to them, Momanjoku was no ordinary human but a guardian spirit, Olanwani, protector of the forest, who had existed for over 1,000 years. Her mission was to rescue good people lost in the woods. She could be old or young whenever she chose, and her heart was only visible when she willed it. She held Chibuza and Ugochi's hands, blessed them, and bid them goodbye. As they set off, Ugochi turned to wave once more, but to her amazement, everything had vanished. They realized they had been with a divine being, not a mortal woman. The villagers went wild at the sight of Prince Chibuza. His mother shed tears of joy. A date was immediately fixed for his coronation, a double celebration, as he would also marry Ugochi, the love of his life. The prince narrated how he found Ugochi in the forest and how she had been abandoned by her mother. Uju was shocked. She couldn't believe the radiant beauty standing beside the prince was Ugochi. She had changed completely, glowing with divine beauty. Uju cried her heart out, realizing she was the cause of Ugochi's misery yet had treated her with wickedness. Her sisters, all still unmarried as they waited for kings and wealthy suitors, were equally sorry. They had all treated Ugochi terribly. They came closer, knelt, and asked their sister for forgiveness. Ugochi had a good heart. She knew she deserved happiness and freedom. The gods had turned her pain into joy. Therefore, she forgave her sisters and mother, knowing they had learned their lessons. The villagers stood in amazement as Prince Chibuza openly declared his intention to marry Ugochi. He looked at her with love in his eyes, and Ugochi loved him too. On a grand occasion, Prince Chibuza was crowned king alongside his queen, Ugochi. They married and lived happily ever after. As for Ibuka, the king disowned him and sent him from the palace. He was to live as an ordinary man in the village as punishment for his betrayal. And so, besties, that's the end of this thrilling story. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, share and subscribe. See you in the next story.